Hey everyone, this is Ryan from Stromboli Games. Welcome to episode 2 of my Kerbal Space Program series. And today we're going to get a little bit further in depth in rocket building and staging, and we're going to learn how to unlock new technologies. Now if you remember, last time we got a couple contracts in, and we're going to go right back here to the mission control building. And as you can clearly see, we have a few new contracts available to us. And personally, I'm going to go for Escape the Atmosphere and Orbit Kerbin. Now, see, as these have a higher prestige level, the rewards are much greater. Like you see here, 30 science and almost 60,000 credits versus, 1,000 credits. I'm going to go ahead and get this Orbit Kerbin as well. And, we're going to be orbiting the planet. I think we're going to be higher than 11,000 meters, so I'm going to go ahead and get this one too, even though the reward isn't all that great. Now, if you want, you can go for this. It can be a great way to learn the game. But personally, I kind of think it's a little bit busy. So I'm just going to go ahead and skip over these for now. I'll go back to them later. But alright, up here we have 30.5 science left over from, the science we collected in the last mission. So we're going to cash this in. We're going to go here to the Research and Development Center. And this green tech here, Start, is the technology that we have. Everything that you have tech-wise will be green. Things that are available to you will be in this gray color. Now, this is only 5 science, so I'm going to go ahead and get this. And since I got that, the next few trees have opened up. Now the 3 that you'll have at this point will be survivability, stability, and general rocketry. My personal preference is to always get stability first, mainly because of these radial decouplers, and I will show you why when we head to the vehicle assembly building in a bit. Okay, here we are in the vehicle assembly building. Another spacecraft. Now, I didn't save the last ship from the last episode, but you see here, since we launched it into a mission, the game actually auto-saves ships when you bring it to the launch pad. I really should have saved it. It's the smarter way to go. Then all I have to do is go through and load it later, as you can see me doing right here. So this is the ship that I used in the first couple contracts that we did. I'm going to go ahead and change this ship around because we have new stuff we can put on. We don't need to use these smaller fuel tanks. I'm just going to go ahead and take these off and just hit delete and they will go away. Alright. And these FLT 400 fuel tanks, I believe they're twice the size, so you won't need nearly as many of them to get the same effect. And I'm going to put a T30 engine here. Oh, and we got some new science stuff in that very first thing that we got. And they are mystery goo containment units. These are really nice to start gathering some extra science. I'm going to go ahead and slap 2 of them on here. And you can do this, see how they're, there's just 1 on each side. You do this with symmetry mode, which is right here. You can click through, and like see, I put it at 4. It'll balance it out, so it'll have 4 all the way around. And the shortcuts for this are on Windows is X to increase. As you can see down there, the little circle is filling up with little slices of pie, and then Shift X to bring it down. It's a little shortcut for us. I'm gonna go ahead and put 2 here. And you know what? I'm just going to leave it like this because I'm going to use this to get a little bit of extra science to just to see if I can unlock a couple more things that I really like that'll help us in our Orbit Kerbin quest. So we're bringing that ship to the launch pad, and to work these mystery goo containment units, you right-click them and observe the mystery goo. It'll open up. Mystery goo observation from the launch pad. The goo doesn't seem to be doing much right now. And we got a little bit of science out of that. We can keep the data. And again, we can do another crew report here. Crew report from the launch pad. And we can open up this mystery goo, but since we just did the other one, it says we'll be getting 3 science, but we won't. It'll be a little bit less than that, since we have a duplicate of the data. So actually, to do this, I'm just going to go ahead and bring this ship up really quick. Oh, see? I forgot about the staging. This is what happens when you mess up your staging. Bad things happen. Don't be like me. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and revert this back to launch. Good learning lesson. So again, remember you can change this on the launch pad by hitting this little plus sign, and then you can take your engine and just drag it down there. So I'm going to go through this process again of observing the mystery goo, keep the data, little crew report. Alright, now when I launch it, it will work properly. I'm actually just going to take it over here to the water. Alright, so we're splashed down safely in the water. And I'm just going to go ahead and review and observe this mystery goo. The goo escapes into the water. And see, we're getting a little bit more science out of this than the one that was just on the launch pad. So we're going to go ahead and keep this data. And we don't want to overwrite the crew report, but I am going to go into EVA. I'm going to take an EVA over the water, store that data, and I'm going to actually take a surface sample of the water. You've taken a sample of the water. It appears to dramatically increase the surface humidity of anything it touches. Alright, so we're going to keep that too. We're going to swim back over to our little command pod here. And we're back in. And then remember, up at the top here, you mouse over this and you hit recover vessel. It will bring you right back to the Space Center screen. Alright, we got a fair bit of science out of that, 26.9. Very good, very good. Alright. Now that we have this much science, we can go right back into the research and development. And I'm going to get survivability because I want this LV909 liquid fuel engine. It is a very nice engine for upper stages. It's not nearly as fuel hungry as the, where is it? The LVT-30. It's a lot more economical. I mean, if you're in space or in the upper atmosphere, you don't need all that thrust to get you around. You know, just a little bit of thrust that you get out of that engine will be more than enough. So now that we have that, I'm going to go right back into the vehicle assembly building. And here we are. I'm going to change the ship around a little bit. I'm still going to leave these mystery goo containment units on because there is plenty of science to be had in the upper atmosphere and in orbit. But I'm going to take away this liquid fuel engine. And I'm going to replace it with the LV909. Because that is all we really need in the upper stage. Now, to separate this, we're going to use this TR18A stack decoupler. Now these work by just putting it underneath where you want the stage to separate, and then how this works is it'll blow out in the opposite direction that this arrow here is facing. You see it's pointing up, it'll blow out this way, downwards. And it'll make sure that anything beneath it is clear of the remainder of your spacecraft. So we're going to go ahead and do that, and I'm going to move this spacecraft up a little bit, so I have some room to work under there. Underneath the stack decoupler, I'm going to put a few more fuel tanks. 3 should do me pretty well. And at the bottom of that stack, I'm going to put this LVT-30 engine. Alright. So, now here is where the radial decoupler comes in. So otherwise, without this, you just take your solid fuel boosters and you would just slap them onto the side of the rocket. Now, but there's no way for them to get off. Once they're out of fuel, they're just dead weight, and you'll have to pull that mass along with the rest of your spacecraft. It is much more efficient to go here into the structural tab and get these radial decouplers. And then you can attach your solid fuel boosters directly onto the side, like so. Now, staging. The game doesn't do a really good job of auto-staging it. As you can see, all these solid fuel boosters are in the correct stage where I want them. But then these will fire off, and then this engine on the very bottom will fire after I remove those solid fuel boosters. I want all of these to fire simultaneously. So I'm going to put all the engines into this stage. Now, those will eject when I hit the space bar, and then the next time I hit it, that stack decoupler will come off. Now, I like to do it where as soon as I get rid of a stack decoupler, the engine right above it kicks on automatically. So there we have that. That looks pretty good to me. Alright, yeah, we're going to go ahead and take this up. But here, I'm going to name this. We're just going to call it Orbiter. And then you click over here to save. And then if you hit load, you'll see it appear right here in the little GUI that pops up. So everything's looking good. We are going to go ahead and launch this. Alright. Here we are on the launch pad. And remember, SAS is very important. And to do that, you hit T to activate it. And we're going to go ahead and blast off. Actually, but first, I'm going to turn off the throttle to the liquid fuel engine to stretch it out, because these 4 solid fuel boosters provide more than enough thrust to get me off the ground. So that way I just kind of stretch it out as long as I possibly can. I had mentioned that I don't like going above 200 meters per second. If you right-click this, there's well, if you right-click it in the vehicle assembly building, you can actually reduce the amount of thrust. You can put it at 70% max thrust, and that way they'll only fire that much. Alright, as you can see, I activated those radial decouplers, and the boosters fell off. And now I'm able to continue going up. Now this right here is a very helpful tool. It's called Kerbal Engineer, and it provides all sorts of information that'll really help you out. And what I like to do is I like to get to right around 10,000 meters up, and I start turning. So when you do this, you want to bring it down to the 45-degree range. You can see a little 45. This ring all the way around means that you are at a 45-degree angle, halfway between pointing straight up, which is that point right there, and the horizon, which is represented by this line that's separating the blue region and the brownish-red, rust-colored region. Alright, we ran out of fuel in that engine. I'm going to go ahead and eject it, and there, my upper stage engine went ahead and kicked on, just like I wanted it to. And I'm going to go ahead and bring this apoapse up to about 80,000 meters. Anything above 70,000 is technically out of the atmosphere, but I like to give myself a little bit of extra breathing room. Now from here, we're going to go into map mode, and to do that you hit M, and then we have a nice little overlay here. To bring yourself into orbit, you want to left click on the apoapse, which is basically, it's the high point in your orbit. And you want to click on that and drag out the maneuver node, prograde burn. Prograde means the direction you are moving. And you will burn in that direction. When you put a maneuver node down, this little blue icon that appears here shows you where you need to be pointing your spacecraft to achieve the path that you want. This dotted line here, it shows where your path will be if you perform the burn exactly how you told it to down here. It can be a little bit tricky at times, but you'll get used to it. It just takes a little bit of practice. You know, in the first few times you'll probably end up falling short right back into the surface. It's okay, it happens. Alright, and here you see this is total change in meters per second. It is going downwards because we have to burn that much to we have to have that you have to have that change in velocity to get into this orbit here. And then right here it has our estimated burn time. And then the node. What you want to do is, like, say this estimated burn time is at 2 minutes. You want to start burning at node in 1 minute, so that half of your burn is behind this node, and half of your burn is in front of this node. Now I'm a little bit late, but I think I should be okay. Alright, here we are in a stable orbit around Kerbin. It's not perfectly circular, but it's pretty close. As long as you're above 70,000, you'll be okay. You won't re-enter the atmosphere. So since we're in orbit, you can go ahead and exit map mode. And then here we have a beautiful view of the Kerbal homeworld. Alright, now what I like to do once I'm in orbit and I don't plan on doing a burn for a while, you can right-click on your engine, and then you hit shutdown. That way you don't accidentally throttle up and wreck your orbit. But since we're in orbit now, we can go ahead and do some science. So we're going to go ahead and click on the Mystery Goo Containment Unit and observe the goo. The goo seems to have clumped into a sphere. It also appears to have become brittle. And then here we have +10 science. Remember on the ground it was a +3, +4. So we're going to keep this data. And we can do a crew report up here. It seems we are very much in space right now. The sky seems to be mostly below us. And keep data. You know, we're in space. There's no atmosphere that can possibly rip our Kerbal off of the ladder from air resistance. So we can safely enter EVA in space. Just like so. Now from here, if you hit spacebar, now be careful before you do this, because spacebar will actually let go of the ladder. And the Kerbals, they all have a jetpack, and to turn that on you hit R. And then I'm actually going to change the view. To change your view around you hit V. I prefer the free camera. And to go up you hit Shift. To go down you hit Control. And to strafe right, D. To strafe left, A. And then W is forward, S is back. Typical gaming controls. Now remember, you're in space. There's nothing to slow you down, so wherever you start going, and however fast you're going there, you're going to keep moving in that direction. You know, Newton's law. So I'm going to go ahead and just do an EVA report. You've recorded your observations about the situation. And we're going to keep this data. I'm going to go ahead and get back on the ladder. I don't want to, accidentally float off into space aimlessly. And then we can store that experiment. Oh, and another thing you can do while we're out here on EVA, just in case, the goo unit gets destroyed, you can fly over to it and collect the data, like so. But by removing the experiment data, you will render this module inoperable. It means you won't be able to take another reading with it. It's just done. But for our purposes, that is perfectly okay. We weren't going to use it again anyway. I'm going to go ahead and re-enter the capsule. We've got our science. Alright, to deorbit. We're going to point ourselves at the retrograde vector. The retrograde vector is that yellowish-green color with the X through it. That means we are pointing in the opposite direction that we're moving. Now to show you what this is going to do, we can go into the map mode and, well, actually first I got to reactivate my engine. Alright, now we can go into map mode. And when I start to throttle up, you'll see that on the opposite side of the planet, our altitude's going to be decreasing, like right here, you see? And now, all of a sudden, we're in a collision course with Kerbin. We are now in a suborbital trajectory, and we will soon be re-entering the atmosphere. And hopefully, landing safely back on the planet. Now, this is just excessive. I mean, I'm already set to come back down to Kerbin. I'm just trying to do it a little bit faster. Generally, if your altitude gets below 35,000, you will you'll hit the ground on your first time around. Alright, so now these arrows up here, these are time acceleration. You activate this by hitting period, and then you can see the time will increase. It'll go much faster. See there, it just changed because at certain altitudes you're only allowed to do certain things. You can only speed it up so fast. So, but this is very useful when you're like going long distances and you don't want to wait around for months to you know, get to your destination. It makes things nice and quick. But yep, we're soon going to be re-entering the well, we have re-entered the atmosphere, but we're going to be getting into the thicker part, and we're going to start flaming here. Now, right now in Kerbal Space Program, there is no bad effects from this. You can come in from whatever angle you want. You can even EVA your Kerbal and re-enter the atmosphere. He won't die. However, the landing might be a little bit of an issue. Now remember, if you have time acceleration on, be sure to slow it down before you get too close. You wouldn't want to slam into the ground on accident. That would ruin your Kerbal's day. Alright, we're safely back down on the ground. The Kerbal anyway, not our poor engine. And, you know, just to get a little extra science, I'm going to go ahead and... Oh, these are the highlands. My mistake, they're not the grasslands. Oh, you can go ahead and keep that data, you know the drill at this point. And then we're going to head down here, and, you know, let's plant a flag. This is first time orbiting Kerbin, that's a big deal. Once you learn how to orbit, you're basically halfway to anywhere else in the solar system. So, name site, we're going to call this I Survived. Alright, hit OK. And there we have Jebediah and our Kerbal Space Program flag. And I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit more science. Take a surface sample, keep data, EVA report, keep data. Now, hopefully I can get back in. Yep, we're good. Alright, go ahead and recover vessel. And congratulations, you have completed your first round trip around the planet Kerbin. And return safely back to the surface. Alright, you can see we got a huge amount of science, 57. We're going to be able to do all sorts of stuff with that. And then up here, you probably saw it earlier if you're watching closely enough, that several contracts have been completed. Everything that we had accepted has been completed. Orbit Kerbin, escape the atmosphere, and we set that altitude record. Alright, this video is already getting pretty lengthy, so I think now is an excellent time to stop. As usual, thank you for watching. If you liked this video, go ahead and give it a like. This is Ryan from Stromboli Games, signing off.